unpopular state, politically, economically, socially. And Mojtaba Khamenei is now leading a country in which he's, simultaneously fighting America, Israel, and his own population while living in hiding.
Yeah, and that, of course, let's, I guess, leave it there where we began part of it, in hiding. We still have not seen him, whether he's injured or not. No one has seen him, and that is important. Thank you all very much. And our breaking news continues after this. Nick Payton-Walsh is here. He is reporting from the other front of this war, constant fire, where he just spent time up by Lebanon at one point, ducking for cover. So we've got a report there on that now. Very active front, plus whiplash. All right, oil prices today up and down. The war now in its 10th day. We need context. A Pulitzer Prize-winning economist is now sounding the alarm, warning of a potential nightmare scenario, and he is our guest. And breaking news out of New York, police claim 2 men who hurled homemade bombs into a crowd in New York City were inspired by ISIS. We have new details on that investigation coming up this hour.
The United States and Israel are now both conducting strikes against Iran.
Supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
The cruise missiles that we're seeing here in Israel, unlike anything we have seen before.
Saudi Arabia has intercepted 2 drones.
There is the siren. We're going to head to the shelter.
Iranian drone flew directly over our head.
I actually spoke with the president this morning, one-on-one.
These are dramatic developments that are unfolding.
We need to do something. We need to save time.
I've got it.
What are you doing? We need to save time.
There.
What just happened?
I just saved time. By buying a car in Carvana. It was all online. Got pre-qualified instantly. Great terms. Oh, we need to get out of here.
What now?
Move those little legs. My car's getting delivered today! Save time and buy your car in Carvana.
This is something no one would have expected even a few months ago.
There's new drama here on Capitol Hill tonight.
I think a lot of women right now ask that question.
Did you change the air filter?
Air filter, of course I changed the air filter.
You're supposed to change it every 3 months.
Hey!
Nope.
I'm ordering a new filter.
I can fix it!
Can't even change a light bulb.
Guys, stop! It's easy. You just go to filterbuy.com, select your air vent size, put in the number of filters, and BAM! It's here.
Do you have powers?
No, FilterBuy just has fast and free shipping. So stoked my wife's gone.
FilterBuy. Any filter size. Premium quality. Easy to order.
Taylor's engagement was just Princess Di level news.
$2.2 billion in spend is projected based on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding planning.
A Taylor Swift wedding is a pinnacle moment of celebrity culture.
It says a lot about our country that we have dragged Taylor Swift into a culture war about marriage.
People are invested in what they think that her life is.
I do. The Taylor and Travis era, now streaming on the CNN app.
The Oscars have been a tentpole of American life.
People around the world know what the Oscars are.
Will Hollywood survive an era of streaming?
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden? Saturday at 10 on CNN or watch on the CNN app.
CNN This Morning with Audie Cornish. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNN.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia. Premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN.
Howdy, everybody. Look who we got on campus.
We should hang out more, Matthew.
Hey,
come on, man.
We're doing it.
I've never seen anything I've done twice.
You seen Interstellar once? No way, man.
A CNN and Variety Town Hall event, now streaming on the CNN app.
Explore CNN podcasts for your daily dose of news, culture, and smart storytelling. Whether you want to be swept off your feet.
I just hollered and I said, hey, are you single?
Or navigate cutting-edge tech.
Can I ask a nerdy question?
Follow doctor's orders.
Research shows even a 5-minute walk will do you good.
And discover the conversations shaping our world.
Where do you want to start?
Follow and listen to CNN podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
If anybody knows about going to great lengths to realize a dream, it's the 5 Japanese-born players in front of their nation's fans for the first time.
Homecoming, the Tokyo series, premieres March 27th on the CNN app.
Kara Swisher wants to live forever. Coming soon on CNN.
And welcome back to this special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. We're live in the Middle East in Tel Aviv tonight with breaking news. The United States military just says that it has hit more than 5,000 individual targets in Iran since the beginning of the war. That's 5,000 in just these past 10 days. That means 2,000 targets have been between today and Friday. So, and tonight, as Fred reporting on the ground, he says the most intense night of strikes that he's experienced there. U.S. Central Command also says that more than 50 Iranian ships have been damaged or destroyed. Their numbers of how many are in the Navy have shifted over time, but they are now consistent in saying it is fully destroyed. Nick Payton-Walsh is out front with me in Tel Aviv. And Nick, the other front here is a very significant one. And, you know, I know we talk about it, but it is very important. You have soldiers here, ground invasion, and an all-out war going on with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So you went up right along the front line on the border today.
That's true, and I think it's a sort of a sense of exactly how the unintended consequences, the ancillary parts of this conflict can continue to grow as we get into 9 to 10 days here now. The war between Hezbollah and Israel was a result of Hezbollah saying they would avenge the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, but it is now in full flow. And you get a sense of what this is becoming for Israel now, a really serious issue that it said it will deal with, but is increasingly, I think, potentially finding to be an escalatory conflict. Here's what we saw along the border.
As the war fast spills over and twists, here Hezbollah rockets meet Israeli air defence. The fight thickening on the northern border Sunday night.
I've been hearing that for about an hour now. Probably airstrikes over there in southern Lebanon.
Blasts through the dark. With daylight, it persisted, joined by Apache attack helicopters throwing defensive flares. As Israel said, it had overnight led its second targeted raid on the Iranian ally here. Small arms fire close by. Israel has demanded much of southern Lebanon empty out, but there were no open signs they were yet here in number enough for a full invasion. Instead, picking off targets. The goal, to disarm Hezbollah forever, not yet in reach, their rockets constant.
Right over our head.
The house where we took cover had 28 alerts last night.
How long is it? Like about 10 seconds?
No, it's immediate. You need to hear the more that I hear the siren, but it's the moment that you need to be inside the shelter.
Don't you get tired of this?
We get tired. We don't have any choice. Yeah. It's our home.
Now, we understand from my colleagues here that Israel is weighing whether or not it might push deeper into Lebanon to essentially reduce the ability for rockets, missiles like that to harass communities in the border areas. But it's an enormous undertaking, Erin, because they don't clearly have the ground troops that we could see publicly to do something like that. And it's another example of how this conflict between the US, Israel and Iran has all these different potential dynamics that could cause it to spiral or have dynamics that don't let President Trump's off-ramp seem so easy.
And you see that, and then here, as you came back here, we had the busy, the most intense couple hours we've had of air raid sirens, obviously still essentially shut down, right? A country that is completely defined by war right now. Completely defined by war, of how long that can be sustained. Nick Payton-Walsh, thank you very much here with me. And next, oil prices spiking after Iranian oil depots were engulfed in flames. We're now experiencing the biggest oil disruption in civilized history. A world-renowned economist, energy expert, Pulitzer Prize winner out front next. And a CNN investigation this hour of new video which appears to confirm that it was an American airstrike on an Iranian base next to the school where Iran says at least 168 young children were killed.
Weeknights on CNN.
Tonight on 360.
The stories that matter.
This whole area is just engulfed in flames.
From a trusted voice, Anderson Cooper 360. Weeknights at 8 on CNN.
It is the stretch run on TNT.
The push for the playoffs, that's when their game really picks up. That's the best time of year.
It gets super intense.
Come on, you can feel it! Do or die, gotta make the playoffs. It's crunch time. Every game's a must win. Your back's against the wall. That can come down to one moment, one play.
You gotta embrace this challenge.
It's all about getting in. Once you're in, you never know what's gonna happen. Give yourself every opportunity to compete for the Stanley Cup.
The rush for the playoffs on TNT.
Nice sleep center, Bob. But what's a Bobopedic?
I could tell you, but I'd rather show you.
Oh, Bob's got a feel for your budget.
They deliver right to your door.
With 30 years of sleep experience, the best warranty, and so much more.
Bob's Bobopedic, from your head down to your feet, it feels like no mattress you felt before.
Wow!
Uh-oh.
Bob's Bobopedic.
Welcome to All There Is Live, a weekly live stream where I talk to others about grief and loss.
I don't think that I was ever prepared for loss.
And you can join the conversation too.
All There Is Live, now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
How's your shift going? It's been a lot. This can be very stressful.
Charged. Clear.
Is every day like this?
No comment.
We're gonna take care of you, okay?
This is what we do.
Caitlin Collins is your DC source, bringing you unprecedented access to the White House.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
Capitol Hill.
What does re-examining that look like? Are you saying that that's not going to happen? What exactly are your day-to-day responsibilities?
And beyond.
And good evening from Davos, Switzerland, where President Trump just capped off a whirlwind trip. You were obviously named by President Trump.
For in-depth political coverage and analysis, watch The Source, weeknights at 9 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Every weeknight, we cover it all, from legal battles. At least one juror has now been excused to political showdowns. How much you think that weighs on the president and all the conversations in between? Wayne from Washington. Wayne, what's your question? Will you take this all the way to the Supreme Court?
I'm not refuting a syllable of what you said.
What do you say to people who are looking to find their voice?
All the news. Laura Coates Live, weeknights at 11 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. Whoa. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
We always want to know more.
Had you ever discussed leaving your husband?
What's going on out here in the suburbs? Why'd you kill your friend?
Wake up.
Breaking overnight.
Catch up.
New details and more questions.
Start your mornings here.
This is a pivotal week.
CNN News Central. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on CNN and watch at 8 on the CNN app.
Kara Swisher wants to live forever. Coming soon on CNN.
And we're back with this special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. Breaking news, the biggest oil disruption in history. And that's what it is. Oil prices had been skyrocketing. The war is disrupting 20% of the world's oil supply. Obviously, for some countries, it's way more than that. President Trump says he knew oil prices would rise when he launched the war. And of course, he says he thought they'd go even higher.
We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families. I knew oil prices would go up if I did this, and they've gone up probably less than I thought they'd go up.
course, oil prices spiked overnight in a sort of epic and unprecedented way. It was panic, and it was in large part due to Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, and both sides, all sides, talking about massive escalation from there. Hormuz is one of the world's most critical energy choke points. We stood along it last summer during the strikes of the U.S. and Iran. 1/5 of the world's oil shipments go through there, and it is threatening to upend the global economy. Talking to shippers, some of them I've talked to, they've got ships now that have been stuck since the very beginning of this, right? So you're starting to get to a week or two. They start to have questions about gasoline supply to fire up the ships and food. Trump is telling CBS that he's, quote, thinking of taking over the Strait of Hormuz. He did not provide any detail on what such a thing would actually require. Out front now, Daniel Yergin. He is a world-renowned expert on oil and economics, Pulitzer Prize winner for his work on this, which is about oil and, of course, about the economies and the wars that have gone along with it. And Dan, oil prices, I mean, the rise overnight was unbelievable, and anybody who saw it had to feel deeply unsettled. And the images that we were seeing in Tehran were part of the reason why. The oil depots, the storage facilities engulfed by flames, and then the Qatari energy minister, had said even before that the war could bring down the economies of the world. The IMF, they've warned that it's time to start thinking of what they call the unthinkable, which is a really stunning thing to say. I mean, do you think that these descriptions are accurate?
Well, I think that the risk has been very high, Aaron, and that, as you said, the prices were spiking because there's concern not only about the Strait of Hormuz being closed, but the other thing that needed to be watched was what would happen to all that infrastructure, all that equipment, all those facilities along the Arabian side of the Gulf, and whether they would be hurt and damaged. And it was those two things coming together that were really sending oil prices, as you said, streaking towards $120 a barrel and perhaps higher until they changed directions today.
And, change direction today. In part, President Trump said, the goals were basically met. And he said that right before markets closed. So prices went down. Then when he came in his press conference and was much more bellicose, prices started to go back up again. And this is the world that we're living in. I know, Dan, when you look at history, and history goes back to wars in the Middle East, it goes into crises in the Suez. You say that we're not even in a nightmare scenario yet. What is a nightmare scenario from here?
And a nightmare scenario would be that the Strait of Hormuz remains more or less closed, that there is really damage to these incredibly important facilities along the Gulf Coast, and that you have an extended outage. And at that point, you have not only prices going higher, this is part of the nightmare, you have financial markets hit. We saw some sense of that over the last few days. And of course, the world plummeting into an economic recession. That's the nightmare scenario that has people, and I think that's what the IMF is referring to, if this goes on for a long period of time.
Yeah, the unthinkable. And I think we all are staring at the abyss of the unthinkable, because so many things could happen now that nobody would ever want to happen, but could happen. When it comes to what this means for gas prices in the United States, I mean, obviously, it takes a while to have the oil impacted by all of this, right, flow through the system, but gas prices at the pump, nonetheless, start to go up pretty much immediately. And they're up 50 cents in just over the past week. Where do you see this going?
Well, I think if prices ease off, then we'll see the prices, the prices come down. It's about 2.5 cents for every dollar that a barrel goes up in cost. But I think that even where prices are today, for world oil than they were before the military buildup started in late January. So prices are still, elevated. They're just not as high as what people were looking at when really panic was taking over the market, particularly because 80% of the oil that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia, 90% of gas, and you're really starting to see panicking buying of supplies as people were looking at shortages, physical shortages.
Yeah, I mean, the crises that you see in places, whether it's Japan or Korea, and of course, China now becoming so central in all of this as well. Dan Yergin, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us. And we have an investigation after this. CNN appears to confirm who really was behind the strike on that Iranian base next to a children's school. At least 168 children were killed, according to Iranian state media, and we have all seen the absolutely unspeakable images of that. President Trump tonight says the U.S. is now tracking sleeper cells inside the United States. Meantime, he says it may have been activated by Iran.
The relationship between the FBI director and the president has always been complicated.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN.
How's your shift going?
It's been a lot.
This can be very stressful.
Charged. Clear.
It's every day like this.
No comment.
We're gonna take care of you, okay?
This is what we do.
All There Is Live, now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
I'm Conan O'Brien, and I'm hosting the Oscars for the second time on March 15th. Why am I back? To settle some scores. Take care of some unfinished business. Actually, I just left my mouth guard in the theater. They're expensive.
Dad, I don't need you to check on me.
I still love you.
Ow! I just want to help.
Hey, Rooster! Oh, hey there!
The kids call you Rooster?
They think I'm like my character. You're a best-selling author parents have actually heard of. Nice washboard.
This is college. You can be the Rooster if you want.
Crush it, Rooster! I want to crush it! Yeah!
The United States and Israel are now both conducting strikes against Iran.
Saudi Arabia has intercepted 2 drones.
There is the siren. We're going to head to the shelter.
These are dramatic developments that are unfolding.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
The Situation Room, weekday mornings at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
This is the work of a cold, calculating assassin.
In a competition like this, every chef is swinging for the fences.
This is the best lineup of bakers I have ever seen.
Series premiere, The Ultimate Baking Championship, tonight at 9 on Food Network.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, okay. Don't point at me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
Rooster!
My attorney will bury you.
Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever. Coming soon on CNN.
And welcome back to this special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran, as we are live in Tel Aviv with breaking news right now. President Trump is raising doubts about who is behind an attack on an Iranian base that was at a children's school next to it. At least 168 kids and 14 teachers were killed. The exact numbers are according to Iranian state media. The images, though, the reality, horrific. Here's what Trump told Armanu Raju moments ago.
I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, But whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated.
But as our Isabel Young reports in the CNN investigation, neither Israel or Iran uses Tomahawk missiles, according to experts.
This is the moment a missile slammed into an Iranian base in Minab, a city in southern Iran, just over a week ago. In this freeze frame, you can see it clearly. Weapons experts tell CNN the wings and tail are consistent with a Tomahawk missile. This new video is the clearest evidence yet that suggests it was the United States that struck an elementary school next to that Revolutionary Guards base, killing scores of students. The US has been firing those Tomahawk missiles at Iran from ships and submarines for more than a week now. Israel doesn't use them, experts tell us.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 170?
No, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Iran also doesn't use Tomahawk missiles. And using satellite images, it's clear the school was struck nearly simultaneously with strikes on an adjacent Revolutionary Guards base. That suggests precision targeting. CNN geolocated this video. We think this missile struck the military base, not the school. You can see that other buildings in the direction of the school had just been struck when this was filmed. Isabel Young, CNN, London.
All right, out front now, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Jim Himes, state of Connecticut. Congressman, I appreciate your time. So, you see this reporting, the clearest evidence yet that suggests it was a U.S. Tomahawk, a missile that struck that base by the elementary school. And of course, this adds to CNN's reporting, New York Times reporting. I mean, incredible work has been done on this in our investigative unit and others. Yet Trump is still raising doubts, right? Pointing the finger at Iran and other countries as if possibly it could have been an Iranian mistake, an Iranian missile or an Iranian misfire. Who knows exactly what he's trying to say. What are you learning?
Well, Aaron, it certainly does not look good, right? I mean, the president's statement that other countries have Tomahawks, that might be true if you're talking about the United Kingdom or something, but the Iranians do not have Tomahawks. Israel does not have Tomahawks. By the way, this administration wouldn't even provide Tomahawks to Ukraine. So no, they are not a generic weapon. And, the idea that at the very moment in time when we're striking lots of other targets in the vicinity, that this one just happened to not be a U.S. munition is not believable. I also don't know if you noticed, but when the president on Air Force One turned to Mr. Hegseth, as he said, Mr. Hegseth did not say, "No, sir, that was not us," which is what Trump had said. He said it's under investigation. Now, whether that investigation will ever be completed, that's a different question.
Yeah, but I did think his answer was actually important because he did not go along with the president, and it was notable given the position he's in. The president also talked about Iran activating so-called sleeper cells in the United States, Congressman, which is obviously a deeply concerning thing if true. He did talk about it specifically. I'll play that part.
Has Iran activated any sleeper cells inside the U.S.? There's reports that they have press that trigger button to activate those cells, at least abroad.
Well, they've been trying for a long time. We've been very much on top of it.
Congress, is there any evidence? I mean, do you have a real concern about this, that there's such a thing as sleeper cells that literally could be triggered by Tehran?
Yeah, well, there's no question that over a long period of time, the Republican Guard, and in particular the Quds Force of the Republican Guard, has had units whose sole purpose is to try to place in foreign countries, in the region, in Europe, and maybe even the United States, people or groups of people who could work their will. The president has made repeated references to Iran trying to assassinate him. This is done not because there are formal cells, but because they have networks and connections. And so, yes, this is a very real danger. And one of those things that you take into account when you take the decision to attack Iran. They they know that they do not have the military capability to, sink one of our carriers or whatnot. So instead, what they're going to rely on is a great deal of asymmetric capability, and that means potentially terrorism. It means, closing the Straits of Hormuz with very low-tech weapons, small boats, that sort of thing. So, yeah, this is a very real danger.
Yeah, it is. And I'll say in the Straits of Hormuz, oil tankers companies are very worried that what they're saying is that Iran has the ability to use small boats and basically attach bombs to the hulls. So it's a deep concern there. It's part of the reason no one's transiting it, or very, very few ships are. I wanted to ask you about the discussions within the Trump administration, Congressman, about deploying those elite military units to get the uranium in Iran. That's new reporting by our Natasha Bertrand. And she says this would require a major ground presence. Former chief nuclear inspector for the IAEA, Robert Kelly, called it a suicide mission talking to us earlier. He did not think it had a high chance of success. Is this potential operation, as you see it, realistic?
Yeah, I don't think so, Aaron, based on what I know. And again, this is just one of the many things that President Trump says, and I just don't know where it comes from. Here's what I can tell you. In June of last year, when the president supposedly obliterated through the use of, the bunker busters down tunnels into Fordo, which is one of the storage and refinement assets that the Iranians have, and in other places, Isfahan most notably, we created a huge amount of damage. And our belief is that underneath that damage is uranium. Uranium doesn't all of a sudden magically disappear. It can be spread around. It can be, sealed off by lots of rubble. So think about this. How you're going to put teams in that are going to both clear rubble, remove stuff while they're not getting shot at, not very likely. That just does not strike me as a realistic mission, no matter how good the military is.
Congressman Himes, we appreciate your time and thank you so much. And next, authorities say that the two men who threw explosive devices into a crowd in New York City were inspired by ISIS. We'll be back with new details.
The United States and Israel are now both conducting strikes against Iran.
Supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
The cruise missiles that we're seeing here in Israel, unlike anything we have seen before.
Saudi Arabia has intercepted 2 drones.
There is the siren. We're going to head to the shelter.
Iranian drone flew directly over our head.
I actually spoke with the president this morning, one-on-one.
These are dramatic developments that are unfolding.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. Whoa. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
We always want to know more.
Had you ever discussed leaving your husband?
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
Why'd you kill your friend?
Did the re-election of Donald Trump play any role in your decision to resign? It sounds like you have the facts on your fingertips.
There really is much more that unites us than that which divides us.
Watch The Lead, weekdays at 5 on CNN, and watch on the CNN app.
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden, Saturday at 10 on CNN or watch on the CNN app.
Tell me a story.
The Oscars, live March 15th on ABC and Hulu. Hosted by me, Conan O'Brien.
What's happening in the arena? I'll bring you the latest from the players who are actually in the game. Because I want answers, and so do you.
The Arena with Casey Hunt, weekdays at 4 on CNN. And watch on the CNN app.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, can't poop on me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
My attorney will bury you.
Welcome to All There Is Live, a weekly live stream where I talk to others about grief and loss.
I don't think that I was ever prepared for loss.
And you can join the conversation too.
All There Is Live, now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
Welcome back to a special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. And as we follow the fighting across the Middle East, we also have breaking news in the United States, where 2 men are now facing charges of using a weapon of mass destruction after allegedly throwing homemade IEDs during an anti-Islam protest outside Gracie Mansion. Now, that is where the mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, lives. According to federal prosecutors, both men said they were inspired by ISIS when they were arrested. One of the suspects reportedly saying that he wanted to carry out an attack bigger than the Boston bombing. Of course, you remember the Tsarnaev brothers with so much death and destruction. Mamdani called it a heinous act of terrorism. Thank you so much for joining us here. Our breaking coverage will continue, of course, here tomorrow. And now we hand it off to AC 360, which starts now.
Good evening. We begin our CNN Global War coverage tonight with breaking news on 2 fronts. Here in the U.S. with a presidential press conference, and in the Middle East as a new day is about to dawn. We saw this Israeli airstrike in Beirut earlier today. Israel has been targeting the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah and says it continues to strike targets after they say Hezbollah fired projectiles into Israel. In Bahrain, Iranian drone attacks injured at least 32, according to authorities, including a 2-month-old baby, 2 young boys, and a 17-year-old girl. It happened on the island city of Sitra, which is near the capital. It's also home to the country's main state-run oil refinery, which was set ablaze by Iranian attacks. This comes, of course, in the wake of Israeli strikes on Iran's oil infrastructure that continue to send clouds of black smoke into Tehran. All of this, combined with Iran placing a near chokehold on Middle East oil in the Straits of Hormuz, has sent shockwaves into the world's oil markets and created the biggest oil disruption in history. The price of oil neared $120 a barrel earlier today, before settling at just under $100, while gas in the U.S. has jumped 51 cents a gallon just in the last week. All of this has created concern in the White House. The president called a hastily arranged press conference this afternoon. It was his first formal press conference 10 days into this war. The president covered a lot of ground, including suggesting the war, which he called an excursion, might be nearing its end.
We've carried out some of the most powerful and complex military strikes and maneuvers the world has ever seen. We're achieving major strides toward completing our military objective. And some people could say they're pretty well complete.
When a reporter followed up asking if that meant a week, he said no, but soon, very soon. As to why the U.S. decided to act against Iran now, the president and his administration have offered a number of reasons over the last 10 days. Tonight, the president offered several during the 34-minute press conference.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us.
Well, claims that Iran was planning a preemptive attack were contradicted in Pentagon briefings to Capitol Hill lawmakers previously that states Iran was not planning to attack unless struck first. The president also said that Iran was planning to preemptively attack its Gulf neighbors.
If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. But they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing.
The president also suggested that he approved the military action after the Iranians wouldn't commit to abandoning their nuclear ambitions in negotiations with his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff.
They were not willing to say that. And when Steve called up and he said that to me, I said, well, here we go. Let's do it the hard way.
So, a lot to cover tonight. We have learned the identity of the 7th U.S. service member killed in the line of duty. His name is Army Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington from Glendale, Kentucky. He was 26 years old. He was injured a week ago at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. He died yesterday of those injuries. We're expecting his dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware tonight, and we'll bring that to you if it occurs during this hour. Starting off tonight with CNN's Jeremy Diamond in Tel Aviv, Israel. So, Jeremy, how are President Trump's remarks likely to be received in Israel?
Well, Anderson, for days now, Israeli officials have been watching, perplexed, sometimes concerned, as President Trump has offered varying assessments of this current war, of how long it may last, and of what its goals are. And I think after tonight, Israeli officials will at least have a sense that President Trump is along for the ride for at least some time longer. But for how much longer still very much remains a question, as President Trump, did not offer the same kind of full-throated backing of the goal of regime change that Israeli officials are certainly seeking. Israeli officials in recent days have indicated that not only are they going for regime change, but they are committed to carrying out this war for as long as that process may ultimately take. President Trump, for his part, talked about preventing Iranian leaders in any capacity whatsoever of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States. That was perhaps his clearest articulation yet of what his end goal is for this war. And so some questions now about the kind of daylight between Israel and the United States on the ultimate aims of this war, and for how much longer President Trump will remain committed to it. As he said today, this idea that he could call this war a tremendous success now, but he will continue on with it for a little while longer.
And I understand you have new reporting tonight about Israel considering a deeper incursion into Lebanon.
Yeah, that's right, Anderson. We have been watching as this second front in Israel's war with Iran has very much been heating up. Israel carrying out airstrikes in Lebanon, ordering the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of people in the Lebanese capital, and Hezbollah carrying out not only missile and rocket attacks, drone attacks against communities in northern Israel, killing 2 soldiers, wounding several more in attacks just this past Friday. And now, amid all of that, the Israeli prime minister gathered for a security consultation tonight with his security officials to talk about the situation in Lebanon. And one of the ideas on the table was the possibility of deepening Israel's military presence inside southern Lebanon. We know that Israeli troops currently control several military positions inside Lebanese territory, but it is only, a couple of kilometers inside of southern Lebanon. And now the Israeli military, the Israeli prime minister, weighing deepening that military presence with a further ground operation inside of Lebanon. It's not how clear that may go, but it does come as we've been witnessing the massing of tanks and personnel along that northern border. Anderson.
Jeremy Diamond. Jeremy, thanks very much. As we mentioned in Florida today, President Trump spoke about the war with Iran, said the operation may be, quote, pretty well complete, his words. Chief White House correspondent and anchor of The Source, Kaitlan Collins, joins us now. Kaitlan, does the president's timeline track with what you've been hearing from others in the White House?
Well, we've been hearing a lot, Anderson. I mean, even just in the span of a couple of hours from the president himself about how much longer this could go on. Because today, before the markets closed, notably, as we were seeing so much activity in them today with the spike in oil prices, the president was telling CBS News that it was pretty much complete. And then when he came out before the cameras tonight around 6 p.m. Eastern, obviously after the markets had closed, he seemed to be signaling that there is still more to go, that they still have more to do in Iran before their objectives are complete. But it's not really clear exactly what those objectives are in terms of what specifically needs to be done for him to feel that this is over in Iran, because the president has given multiple answers on that front, Anderson. As you know, it is what we've heard from the last several days, including tonight when he was saying that he needs to ensure that Iran doesn't have the ability not only to not strike the United States, but also not strike Israel or other neighboring allies in the region that obviously Iran has been going after in recent days. And so we had heard from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on Friday Friday in a taped interview where he said this was only the beginning. And when the president was asked directly about those conflicting messages, you heard him say that both could be true. And he talked about building a great country in Iran, which also goes against what we've heard from Secretary Hegseth, who has said this is not nation building. And so I do think there's still a lot of questions in terms of how much longer this could go on, though the president seemed to be trying to send the message today that it is not much longer. But honestly, Andrea said it's kind of hard to know because of how many different messages we are getting from the administration on this.
All right, Caitlin Collins, thanks very much. We'll see you at the top of the hour on The Source. You have a joint interview with Democratic Senators Tim Kaine, Adam Schiff, Cory Booker, and Tammy Baldwin. Joining us now, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. He also served as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations during the George W. Bush administration. Ambassador, what do you make of the president saying he thinks the Iran war could be over very soon? He told CBS the war was, quote, very complete. How do you interpret those comments?
Well, any way you want, which is kind of typical with the president. I mean, it could be true. It could be that we're within a few days. That's what very soon sounds like to me. Number two, he could be manipulating the markets. I mean, we know oil prices had risen dramatically in the morning American time. Stock markets went down dramatically. On his mere words, those two markets reversed direction. And if there's anything that the president is obsessed about, it's markets and especially the price of gasoline at the pump. The third thing, which may be the real explanation, is that he is getting ready to declare total victory. And we know at some point, whatever the situation, when he wants to get out, he's going to get out saying we had total victory. So this may have been a kind of running start to get that ready. I don't think you can emerge from his comments over the course of the day with any clear idea whatever how close we are to this phase of the operation.
Does that make it harder, I mean, for everybody else who is actually planning and running a military, running the war? I mean, how do you deal with that as a policymaker, as a military officer, as a political advisor?
Well, I think they have to be very frustrated with it, and I think it reduces the chance, which was already pretty small, that we're going to get more allies to come in on this, because if the president can't outline effectively what our goals are and how we're going to go about them, others are not going to jump in, and I think that's a mistake. I think what he should have done well before the announcement last weekend,
bombs
been quietly
died
working
and
with
are
allies
right
to
now
get as
walking
many
around
to
with no
participate
legs,
as
no
possible,
arms.
even if just
Was
in
denied it.
very
But
very
they were
small
very
numbers,
strongly
very small
involved in all of the people
I think you
that
could have
died
built
through
an
the
alliance
roadside
because there's a
bombs,
compelling
died and
case
are
that
right
the
now walking
Iranian
around with
nuclear
no
weapon
legs,
effort
no
and its
arms.
support for
Was
terrorism
denied it.
formed the
But
basis
they
of
were
an argument
very
to
strongly
remove the
involved
regime.
in
But
all
he
of the
didn't make any
people that
effort. You don't
died through
build
the roadside
coalitions
bombs,
after you start
died
the
and
war.
are
Normally, you
right
try
now
and do it
walking around with no
beforehand.
legs, no arms.
So if the
Was
U.S.
denied
declares
it.
victory in
But they
several
were
days
very
or
strongly
a
involved
week,
in all of the
current
people that
new Iranian
died through the
leader is
roadside
still
bombs,
alive
died
and
and
still
are
in
right
power.
now
He's
walking
some of
around
the
with no
old,
legs, no
leader,
arms.
doesn't,
Was
and
denied
the
it.
Revolutionary Guard
But
Corps
they were very
still has
strongly
all the
involved in
weapons
all
and
of the
militia
people that
groups,
died
as
through the
well.
roadside bombs,
Is this
died and are right now
what's been
walking around with
accomplished?
no legs, no arms. Was denied it.
Well,
But
this
with
is an example of mowing the grass, as it's sometimes called, and it's a complete mistake because it leaves the potential for the regime to rebuild. That's what we mowed the grass in the 12-day war last summer. 12 days of Israeli attacks, 1 day of U.S. attacks, and the president said, victory, we've obliterated the nuclear program, it's over. Well, we didn't obliterate the nuclear program, it wasn't over, now we're back doing this. And if he stops it while the regime is still in power, this regime is a radical, ideologically motivated regime that will simply rebuild the connections with the terrorist groups and their nuclear program. If you want an Iran without a nuclear weapons program and that doesn't support terrorist groups, this regime has to be removed.
Axios had previously reported the U.S. was considering sending in special forces to secure or somehow dilute Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, assuming they knew where it was. CNN is reporting tonight, according to 7 current and former officials, that a mission like that would require a significant number of U.S. ground troops beyond a small special operations footprint. Do you think that's an operation the U.S. should carry out?
Well, I said last week that I thought that we should consider something to secure the key sites in the weapons program, Natanz, Esfahan, Fordo, maybe a couple of others. And the reason for that is that we don't want any of the materials, equipment, files, sensitive materials removed from those sites, not for the regime in Iran, not for terrorist groups to pick up. In my mind, you would do that when the regime was beginning to come apart and fall, and the main point would be to avoid losing any of that material, not to run in and try and get it out. The uranium itself, the partially enriched uranium, I don't know exactly how the Iranians do it. The way we store uranium hexafluoride is in containers that weigh thousands of pounds, and so it's not something you can just kind of pick up and put on a helicopter. But keeping the areas secure from people who would like to get that material and sell it to rogue states or terrorist groups, I think definitely worth looking at some kind of military security.
Ambassador John Bolton, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Coming up next, Iran warns of, quote, surprises after heavy airstrikes in some of its oil facilities. We'll get a live report, an update from CNN's Fred Pleitgen, who is in Tehran, after Iranians took to the streets of the capital showing support for the new supreme leader as our global war coverage continues.
For most of its life, the Oscars has been a tentpole of American life.
People around the world know what the Oscars are.
Oscar viewership has been on the decline.
These days, the struggle for relevance is real.
The players now are Apple, Amazon, Netflix.
Will Hollywood survive an era of streaming? So the question then is, can the Oscars save it?
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden? Saturday at 10 on CNN or watch on the CNN app.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, can't poop on me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
Mister!
My attorney will bury you.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, but thanks to Skyrizi, I'm showing off my clearer skin. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin. And most people were clearer even at 5 years.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Hi, I'm Kai Burkhart, editor at CNN Underscored, and today I'm at Eldora Mountain Resort to show you how I tested for the best ski jackets. There are two main types of ski jackets you can get: insulated and non-insulated. Insulated jackets are obviously better for cloudy, cold days, while uninsulated jackets are great for warmer days, and they typically give you more room so you can layer underneath a little bit better. The Columbia Platinum Peak 2 is the best shell jacket I tested because it has a nice roomy fit, the fabric is soft, it's super protective against water and wind, and it's got huge useful pockets. It has a nice roomy fit so you can fit puffy jackets underneath on really cold days, or just wear it with a base layer on normal spring days. Plus, the jacket extends really far down your back, so if you ever want to sit down in the snow,
the relationship between the FBI director and the president has always been complicated.
Sometimes they're in moments of deep collaboration. At other times, the FBI is investigating the president.
You don't want an FBI to try to destroy a president, but you also don't want a president to destroy the FBI.
No one is above the law in the FBI's eye.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
The United States and Israel are now both conducting strikes against Iran.
Supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
The cruise missiles that we're seeing here in Israel, unlike anything we have seen before.
Saudi Arabia has intercepted 2 drones.
There is the siren. We're going to head to the shelter.
Iranian drone flew directly over our head.
I actually spoke with the president this morning, one-on-one.
These are dramatic developments that are unfolding.
Welcome to All There Is Live, a weekly live stream where I talk to others about grief and loss.
I don't think that I was ever prepared for loss.
And you can join the conversation too.
All There Is Live, now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
Early Start with Rahel Solomon, weekdays at 5 a.m. on CNN.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever, coming soon on CNN.
Thousands of Iranians filled a central square in Tehran today, a very public show of support for the new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, son of the late supreme leader. According to Iranian state media, similar rallies were held in the city of Esfahan and other parts of the country. CNN has a team on the ground in Iran. Fred Pleitkin and photojournalist Claudia Otto are in Tehran. Their movements are monitored by the Iranian government. Today, Fred talked with the top official who said that Iran is prepared for a long war and claimed the regime is still intact.
Iran has a new supreme leader. What does that mean for your military effort and the confrontation with the United States and Israel?
That means the system is quite functioning.
Fred Pleitkin joins us now. So you attended that rally that was in support of the supreme leader. What was it like?
It was huge. It was massive. There were thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people, Anderson, who turned out. It was in Engelab Square, which is Revolutionary Square, obviously celebrating the Islamic Revolution. And there really was a twofold message. On the one hand, people there were mourning the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the late supreme leader, who of course was killed in an airstrike a little over a week ago, and then also pledging allegiance to the new supreme leader, to Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, who of course is the second eldest son of the late supreme leader. A lot of people there were very angry at the current situation, I have to say. A lot of the people were pretty charged up, screaming death to America, death to Israel, certainly a lot more so and a lot more forcefully than we've witnessed in the past. And we've been at a lot of events similar to this one in the past. It was very large, and you could tell that the people there were really angry at the Trump administration, were very angry, obviously, at Israel as well, but at the same time also tried to project that the governing forces here are still very much in control, Anderson, and also that there is a succession in place and that the leadership here in this country is still very much intact.
Fred Pleitkin, appreciate it. Thank you. Joining us now is Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, who sits on the Intelligence and Armed Services Committees. He's also a retired Navy captain and pilot who flew dozens of combat missions in Operation Desert Storm during the first Gulf War. So, Senator, the president said he thinks the Iran war could be over very soon. He called it an excursion. Does that sound realistic to you?
Well, I mean, who knows with Donald Trump? I mean, he went into this without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline. And now he calls this an excursion. We have 7 dead Americans. There are probably about 150, if not more, Iranian children that are dead, other casualties in the region. And the end, I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I think Donald Trump ultimately at some point is going to decide when this ends. His Secretary of Defense, I think, said today or yesterday that we're at the beginning of this conflict. So I think the president needs to, sit down and listen to the people around him, at least the few people that know what they're doing, and start to come up with a plan here. What is the exit strategy? And explain it to the American people. And by the way, Anderson, I don't see what the American people are getting out of this. We've got dead Americans. We've got the possibility of boots on the ground, which could lead to a lot more casualties, on our side. And it's incredibly frustrating, I have to say that.
You don't think that there's anything that the United States accomplished in this thus far?
Well, I mean, we sunk some of their Navy ships. We've destroyed some of their launch capability for the ballistic missiles. They fired a lot of ballistic missiles. On our side, we have fired a lot of interceptors, PAC-3 rounds for Patriots, other defensive missiles. We've got a math problem here. Regime change didn't happen. The son of the Ayatollah might be worse than the dad. We don't know yet, and I think only time is going to tell. The president said last summer we obliterated the nuclear weapons that they had and the uranium. That wasn't the case, because now they're talking about ground operations to remove what's left. So I don't see from a strategic perspective what was accomplished. This isn't like the first Gulf War that I fought in, where the goal was to kick the Iraqi military out of Kuwait. And when we achieved that goal, we had a timeline to achieve it, and when we achieved it, we pulled out. I haven't seen anything like that from this president.
Axios had previously reported the U.S. was considering sending in special forces to secure or try to dilute Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. You referenced this. CNN's reporting tonight that according to 7 current and former officials, that kind of a mission will require a lot of ground troops, frankly, not just a small, special operations footprint. Is that something you think would be a good idea?
Well, I am in the camp where the Iranians cannot get a nuclear weapon. And the problem with this is, if you go back to 2018, when Donald Trump was in the White House, he tore up the Iran nuclear deal. They were not enriching uranium to the point where they could develop a nuclear weapon. But Donald Trump didn't like it because it was something his predecessor put in place, and he tore it up. And that's how we got to where we are today. I believe that we've got to make sure that they not get a nuclear weapon. That is clear. Putting a massive force on the ground to remove what is remaining could result in a lot of death of U.S. service members. So I would want to see, what is the plan for this operation? Do we have any allies involved? How do we mitigate and minimize the risk to our service members? And so far, what I've seen is mostly like a clown show out of the White House on this. We have the Secretary of State saying things that are different than what the Secretary of Defense says. The president will say something new. They haven't even been able to explain. I've got a running list, Anderson, of I'm up to 9 or 10 reasons why we're even in this conflict. And it just grows by the day. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a strategic mess that we're in, with no plan on why we got in and how to conduct these operations, and no plan on how to get out.
Senator Mark Kelly, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Just ahead, Australia granting humanitarian visas to members of the Iranian women's soccer team who've been branded traitors by state-run media. We'll explain ahead. Also, what might be next for Iran.